Hello comrades, yes it's me, a Yorkshireman, now living in Wales, and I hope everybody's okay. Power to the people comrades, and well, what a state we're in. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Tywyn Hospital. So what you need to do is get your phone out, have a look and go Tywyn Hospital. And then what you do next is you basically expand it out a bit, and then you look for the other nearest hospital of some description, and then you'll find chances that will be Dolgellau Hospital. And then you go further and further and further and further, and you'll think, good lord, there is nothing. Yes, literally that's the situation. Which of course means that if you have to go for some sort of care or inpatient care, which is, you know, what a lot of people do need, and that'd be young people or old people, because something's happened, then you've got miles to go, because quite often the hospital at Dol is always full. And I think they've got about maybe 16, 18 beds, I'm not sure, could be a few more. Anyway, so now let me explain you about Tywyn Hospital. So, the Welsh Labour government in about 2013 to 2015, I do believe this might be Drakeford, said, we're going to give you £5 million to make you better. And everybody in Tywyn was said, this is great, because you would do, wouldn't you? So they had a little hospital there, so they spent the £5 million, chances are it'd be more like 10 million, I should imagine. Anyway, at that, they refurbished it and they made it into a 16-bed inpatient ward. And the word inpatient, or the description, is important because that means 24-hour care. So if you had some sort of ongoing illness or you'd come out of hospital, you needed to recover, instead of going like millions of miles away, yes, that's an exaggeration, or 2 or 3 hours away, that's not an exaggeration, you could then come home and then be looked after, and then you get home quicker. Everybody, your visitors could see you, your relatives could see you, and like basically it were better. Now this would work for young people or old people. And if I recall, it also had like a bit of accident situation, so you could go there, you could get seen to. Now of course that doesn't happen, because over the weekend the little incident unit they have, that shut down, and that caused an issue. One of my neighbours dropped his hand on his car, on his hand, should I say. Anyway, luckily neighbours ran out, lifted the car up, he got his hand out, and of course this was on a Saturday. So he then had about 2.5, 3 hour wait for an ambulance or somebody else to come to then make the assessment, and then he still had to go see somewhere else. Now, the interesting bit is he had to wait a long time. Now I do know, because I've come from England into Wales, is that even in England, the ambulance service is shoddy to say the least. You might as well get in a car and drive there, regardless of the condition, or get somebody else to do it. But just to think about now, all these residents in Tywyn who now don't have the inpatient service, which they got from the Welsh Labour government. And again, at the back of all of this, it'll be the Welsh Labour politicians who said, we're going to close it. So it then closed suddenly. And they called it temporarily. Yeah, so it's like a temporary closure on a motorway or temporary roadworks, which seems to then be there for 10 years. So it's like an epidemic, isn't it? These different words they use. But it is open, but it has very limited services. And of course, that's now meant that the care in Tywyn and the surrounding area isn't equal or balanced. That means other people get better care. Now the question what we don't understand is, why did it close? Now they've told all sorts of stories, but I like to try and get to the truth of it all. So the organisation, which are still publicly funded, it's a slightly different structure from England. But before I finish, let me just make it really clear. The community have sending petitions, public protests, demonstrations, and they've even had the Plaid Cymru, Mayben App, turn up and give a speech just saying this needs to be resolved. Now, Plaid Cymru are now in power, so you'd hope that he'd keep to his word and like get it reopened as soon as possible or find out what's going on. However, they've sort of not made the decision yet on reopening it, and this is 3 years on. So, everybody has to travel, and that of course will compound any illnesses you've got. It causes stress, it causes all sorts. And I should imagine, in my opinion, the people who have not made the decision are causing more harm than good. And the NHS, you've got one job to do. Your single job is to provide patient care. That's it. And if you don't believe that, then you're in the wrong job. If you're telling me it's something else, I'll meet with you and you sit down to me and you explain how whatever else you're doing helps patient care. That's what I'm interested in. I used to work for the NHS. I've had this discussion many times. So the people in charge of all this are these lot here, Betsi University Health Board. And I made a freedom of information request, and if you go on What Do They Know site, what you will find is all the information in the full letter. I asked some simple information, so I know they have a steering board, and this is the interesting bit. Somebody else has been trying to find out any information of who sits on this steering board for like 6 months. 6 months, you can't believe it, can you? But this public funded organisation, Betsi University Health Board, have refused to give it. Now, you work in the NHS, you're public funded, you're accountable to us, but apparently you're not. Anyway, so I then said, well, I'll have a go. And all I requested were the names, the job titles of the people who sit on this steering board. Because in my little world, if you sit on a steering board and you're the decision makers, whether it opens or it doesn't open, then you're responsible and you're accountable, because all these people are, guess what, public funded. They get the pension from us, they get the holiday money from us, they get everything from us. The cars and everything, the food they're eating on the table, the t-shirts, the clothes they put on. That's us. So the least they can do is tell us who they are. However, that's what I asked. Simple question. This is what I got back. And I have to admit, I have to laugh. So this is it. So I've got a job title. This is a job title. This is your job title. This is a job title. Oh, I got a job name. Head of Health and Strategy Planning. Seriously. Anyway, all these here. And guess what? I only get one. Chief of Staff. Ellen Gwynedd, Chief of Staff. I should imagine I could find that anywhere. The bit I'm really interested in is the Tywyn Town Council representative. Why are they not telling the people in Tywyn who that is? Now, it also goes on to say it's not a member of staff, but it doesn't have to be. If you're on the steering group, we should have the information. Now, it then goes on and they then give me this reply here. And this reply, let me pull it up here, is in the blue, and it sort of goes on. It says, disclosure will be unlawful. I'm thinking, well, why is that then? And then it said, no lawful basis for disclosure has been identified. This is around public interest. Now, surely if a set of people are sat on a board and for 3 years or less years, whatever it is, it doesn't matter really, and they've not made the decision, and they've not made it back to what it was, that is definitely public interest. And people and patients will have been harmed because of it. And more will continue to be harmed. So actually, it's like preventable stuff they could be doing now, couldn't they? But they're not. But they don't want to tell us who they are. And it then goes on to say, as individuals concerned, we would have a reasonable expectation that their personal data would not be disclosed in this context. And disclosure would be unwarranted. That makes no sense. They are the public NHS. They have one job to do, to provide patient care. They're not providing patient care. They're being obstructive. And they're hiding behind technicalities. Now, of course, this now sort of gets really ironical. Because what it's saying is their personal data, which also can be your face. That's your personal data because that identifies who you are. So would all these people, let me just go back to this list if I can pull it up. All these people, they're all walking down, going to the meeting, and the police have a facial recognition system going on. And they all turn around and they cover their faces and they say, I don't want to be recognised. Would they turn around and say, oh, it's my personal data? No, they wouldn't. I'll tell you what would happen is the police would say, I don't really care. They'd detain them, they'd take photos of them, they'd look for the name and the address and everything. So we seem to have double standards once again. Where if the NHS and a public person, not a public authority, because I don't have the authority, says, well, I want to know what your name is, then they don't have to tell us. But again, if I'm walking down the street or if I turned up to one of these meetings, I guarantee somebody will want to know who I am. So it seems we've got double standards, but what we've actually got is technocrats in charge. Now, the way I'm looking at this is this only gives me one more question. And the question is, what are they hiding? What are the connections they are hiding which might link between these different people's names. So if I get the names, could I then find out some spurious connections? Because that's all I'm left with, isn't it? Now the other bit, which I do find really funny, is the only name I didn't ask for is the name I got. Well, apart from the other one, is Kelly Duff. Ironically, the Senior Information Governance Officer. Now you can't make that up, can you? Now, the question is, what happens next? Well, we've got a new gang in, they're Plaid Cymru. So, write to your member of the Senate, whoever they are, go on to What Do They Know, get this document, it's worth doing. Just send them the document and just ask them one question. Can you please write to Betsi University Health Board and ask them, what are they hiding? That's it. That's your first question for 10. And see what happens. I mean, I can't really get over it. And I will guarantee, because I've been in the NHS, I'll tell you now what happens. Is they will literally sit down round this meeting, right, they all meet, oh, not seen you for a while, how you going, how's Jenny, how's the dog, how's the cat and all this, how's the cooking going? Literally, that's what happens. And it goes on and on and on, and it's mind-numbing. And on at the very end, they'll say what we're going to do with this decision to make. Oh, we'll roll it over, we're waiting for more data to come in. Yeah, I've seen it all before. Now, the other thing I will say, to make my position clear, is that the NHS staff in the main want to do good. However, after so many years, eventually what happens is they watch other people who've said, this is a concern, you need to do this, I'm drawing this attention. Then what happens? They get into the whistleblowing policy and their career, their life is finished. And everybody else now watches this and they say, I'm not saying anything, I don't like what's going on, but I need the job, I need the income, I need to feed my kids, I need to do everything else. So quite rightly so, they just keep quiet. Unfortunately, that allows the bad people, yes, the bad people, to continue doing what they're doing. And I don't know what it is, because the NHS just has one job, to provide care for patients. And PS, it's all public funded, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I intend to keep looking into Betsi Cwyd and the Tywyn Hospital and see if I can get more names. Right, comrades, thank you for watching. Please, I don't know, leave a comment and the rest of it. And I hope you're enjoying my new camera system. Yes, I've spent some money. Right, catch you on the other side and see you later. Thank you.